Hello, hi everybody. Welcome to this webinar about how to take climate action through the foods that you choose. It's a native plant-based cook-along with the amazing Nornie Bero. Hi Nornie, we'll introduce you in a sec. So my name is Taryn DaCosta and I'm the Climate Emergency Engagement Officer here at Yarra City Council, and I'm going to be facilitating tonight's session. I'd like to start tonight's event by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional and true sovereigns of the land that we call Yarra. We acknowledge the significant contributions made by other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to the life in Yarra, and we pay our respects to elders of all nations and to their elders past, present and future. And we extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us tonight, including the awesome Nornie. So welcome to tonight's cook-along. We're really excited to have everyone here with us tonight. And you may be wondering why the Climate Emergency team here at Yarra City Council are hosting a cooking event. So Yarra is committed to responding urgently to the devastating effects of climate change and was one of the first councils to declare a climate emergency. Part of our climate emergency plan is to support individuals and households to take climate action in a number of different ways. And although we absolutely understand that our actions as individuals are a drop in the ocean compared to the action required at all levels of government and from large corporations, we all can make choices in our everyday lives that collectively can make a real difference. And there is an urgent need for all of us to cut our emissions in any ways that we can. So one of these key choices is through the foods that we choose. We know that there is a strong link between our diets and climate change, with 13% of our total greenhouse gas emissions coming from animal agriculture every year, making it the fourth highest source of emissions. A vast majority of these emissions are from methane, from livestock, meaning that meat and dairy consumption has a much higher footprint than many plant-based alternatives. But methane emissions are only one part of that story about the connection between agriculture and greenhouse gas emissions. Forests are another really important part of that story. So forests also play a critical role in drawing down carbon from the atmosphere. And so land clearing or deforestation is responsible for around 10% of Australia's total greenhouse gas emissions. And nearly all of this land clearing, particularly in Queensland, is for beef production and Australia, and Australia has one of the highest rates of land clearing in the developed world. Deforestation or land clearing not only contributes to carbon emissions, but it also contributes to land and soil degradation, salinity, declining water quality, habitat destruction, and destruction to coastal marine areas. So, in short, the production and the consumption of beef, lamb, and dairy puts a heck of a lot of pollution into the air and is also damaging the land, soil, and waterways that we need to sustain us. So, knowing all of this, reducing our meat and dairy intake and increasing the amount of plants that we eat is a really effective way to take climate action in our everyday lives. On our Yarra City Council Take Climate Action page, we have a heap of different resources and videos that talk about this topic. As over the last year or so at Yarra Council, we've run a number of events to support our community to embrace more plants in their diets. But tonight is not only about celebrating and eating more plants, but about eating more native plants. Plants that have been growing on this land for millennia, plants that have sustained and nourished First Nations communities for generations, plants that are in harmony with the soils and the climate in this country. Growing and eating more native plants is good for protecting and preserving biodiversity, Indigenous culture, and as we know, eating locally is good for our health and the health of our planet, and you can't get more local than eating plants that are native to an area. So I'm going to introduce you in a second to Nornie Bero, who's going to be teaching us more about the best ways of eating and preparing native ingredients and showing us how to cook a really delicious plant-based meal tonight. Before I do that though, we do have a couple of quick housekeeping things just to go through. The webinar is being recorded, so please do keep your cameras off. You can just sit back and relax, and you'll be cooking as well. So, but we'll keep our cameras off for now. And if you could avoid any background noise and disruptions, please keep yourselves on mute. Later on, as we start to get our meals together, you might want to show Nornie some of the things that what you're cooking and how it's going. So later on, we may ask you to raise your hand if you want to show Nornie, but it's just using that little yellow hand function on Zoom. And we will have time for questions and chatting as we cook along with Nornie tonight. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section, which you have access to. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, we won't use the chat, we'll use the Q&A function. So please put questions in there. Okay, so I get to introduce you to, actually we had some more information, but we're going to come back to that later. I'm going to introduce you to Nornie now. Nornie is from in the far east Torres Strait, and it's the most northern point of Australia. She has been a professional chef for over 20 years and is the head chef and business owner of Mabu Mabu, a food enterprise which started out as a condiment business and is now doing all sorts of things, catering, got a cafe, a bar, a restaurant. And if you haven't been to Big Esso in Fed Square in the city, you should definitely go and check it out. So Nornie is an amazing advocate and champion of native ingredients, and she's keen to see them used in kitchens all over Australia, accessible to everyone and not just in fancy restaurants. And tonight, we are so lucky because she's going to be showing us how to cook a native plant-based meal from her kitchen to your kitchen. Hey Nornie, how's it going?
Hi, how's everyone?
So
good. We're all ready? Are we ready? Have we got everything? Don't worry if you don't. We can wing it. You know, every flavor tastes nice. It's up to you of your flavors that we're going to do today. So we will get started, I think.
Yeah, winging it in the kitchen is my favorite thing to do. So that sounds awesome, Nornie. Yeah. Did you want people to put their ovens on now to preheat them?
Yeah. Look, we want those ovens to be preheated now, because you don't want to be putting your ovens on before you put your stuff in, because otherwise you're going to waste all that time and you're not going to get the same heat out of it. So you want to preheat your oven so that you have at least 10 minutes for it to heat up and get to the right temperature so that we can put your yams in, or your pumpkins, whichever you have at home. Both are good. It's all still root vegetables, so it's perfect.
Do you want to remind us the name of this dish, Nornie, that you're going to be cooking?
Yeah, so this is a yam HASSELBACK. So HASSELBACK is just a way of treating, like, you know, cutting your yams or your vegetable, and it'll just give you that nice little kind of strings so that you can actually pull it apart like it and take off those nice crispy bits as well at the same time. So a nice way of doing it, HASSELBACK, is just about the cutting of it so that it's nice and thin, and it gives you a different outlook and a different look to it too as well, instead of just throwing it in and then going away. Now there's two different things that you want. Sorry, just to let you know that, can you guys all see me on big screen?
I think that's all good.
Yeah. All right, perfect, because I can only see you on big screen. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get started. So if you've got your pumpkins or you have your yams, now I'm using the purple yams. I know they look white on the outside, but they're purple on the inside, and they're really one of my favorites. So some people call them the white sweet potato because they are the cousins of sweet potatoes. And yams are basically any sort of sweet potato, plus there's different types. But the white yams, these are the purple yams. I call them the purple yams because inside they're so cool when you open them up. And we're going to cut it in half. So ovens are on to 180. So when you open them up, they have this beautiful color on the inside. Can you guys see that? So they've got that marbling too as well. And you see them as light now, but when we get to start cooking them, the purple gets darker and darker and darker in there. So you get these beautiful purple natural colors to it. And that is why I like using different types of yam, because I'm a yam girl. I love using yams because I'm like, see you later, potato. Hello, the yam. Because, you know, potatoes are boring. You like, all you do is make chips out of them. You don't really do too much besides chips and mashed potato. But yams, they come in so many different colors and they have so many different flavors as well. So every time you use a different yam, every time you use a different yam, they have their own texture, they have their own flavor, and they have their own color. So you can use them all year round too as well. So yams for me is really cool because for us here in Australia, we get yams from all over Australia. And they all grow in different parts and they all have different textures and different flavors to them because they grow in colder parts or those hotter parts or a bit warmer. If you go up to Maningrida, they've got like candy yams. They're called candy yams and you can eat them. They're almost like radishes as well. So you can eat them raw or you can eat them roasted and they just are crunchy, almost nutty to them as well. So there's so many different types of yam out there. I grew up with yams. You can see a lot of this is yam based, you know, so I'm plant based, you know, mostly with yams. All of this came from yams. There's a couple of yams on these hips. So you can see for us, like yams are really important because growing up in the Torres Strait for me is everything we grow comes out of the ground, you know, and that's what you're eating. Besides, when I grew up as a kid, growing up there, you basically had just this main supply of rice and flour that would come in on the barge. So everything you grow is what you eat, grow or comes out of the ocean. So for us, yams are just like a lifeblood. So I grew up with things like cassavas and taros, and we have them called maniotas and different types of different yams all the time. And we would make it naturally with coconut milk and all of those kind of things. So it's just a natural part for us to, because I don't grow up with potatoes. So that's why I'm like, see you later, potato. It's like, it's all right. But like, you know, yams are just even better because there's so many different types and you can use them for so many different things, from desserts to even to all the savory dishes as well, because that's what we use them for. And it's really kind of cool that we can. So that's why I like using the purple yam. Now you can peel your purple yams back if you want to, but why waste it? Just take, if there's something that you don't like of it, just cut that little piece off. That might be it, but use the whole thing because that's all going to be nice and crispy for you too. So I'm going to cut mine in half here and then cut them in half again down the mat. So we got them. So you can see all those beautiful purples inside. And this gives you an opportunity to actually like try different types of ones and try different flavors that you like too at home. Like we're going to be putting all this ingredients into it, but this is a good opportunity for you guys to do this again and maybe put all those extra flavors that you like at home, the ones that you have in your cupboard. And the reason why I put a lot of the other ingredients and the spices in it, because we know that as consumers, we buy 10 million bottles of coriander seeds. And then because we keep forgetting that we have coriander seeds in the cupboard, so we buy them again. So then we have lots. So this is your opportunity to use all those extra spices that you've got in your pantry, because we all know that we have those extra spices in there, to add them to this and actually give it even better flavor too as well.
So do you think yams are a good like vessel for lots of different flavors?
Well, yeah, it is, because it's like it's savory, but it's sweet too as well. So when you add all those spices and extra spices that you've got there, you've got the savory and spiciness in there too as well. And that's only going to add to a better flavor of your yam, because you already got that sugary sweet that naturally comes from it. But we're going to add a little bit of extra sweetness too and a bit of maltiness. So when you're cutting them as well, so now remember that when the purple things, that means that purple color will come off too. So it will stain. So just be careful when you think. So you've got your yam, put your thing side down. When you have your knife, all you got to do is I just put my knife on the edge and then just push down, but not all the way. So it gives you,
Not all
and just go slowly to give you thin cuts all the way. It's just a light push because what you want is it to still be attached. So it gives you this little bit, can you guys see that? So it's still attached there, but it's sort of already opening up.
It kind of looks like a piano accordion.
Sorry?
Kind of looks like a piano accordion.
Exactly. You want to, because it's going to slowly open up while it's cooking, and we're going to get some of those flavors in there. So just take your time, don't rush it, just nicely thin slices all the way through, all the way until it's done, and do all of your pieces. If you're using a pumpkin, or especially the butternut, you'll take the seeds out, but just keep the seeds as well. Put them into your roasting because you want those nice crispy seeds in there too as well. So don't waste it, and if you want to take the skin off the pumpkin too as well, roast them too. Put that skin underneath your pumpkin so that it gets nice and crispy and things, so you can use all those pieces too as well. And if you want to get the HASSELBACK a little bit better on there, because you've got that curve inside of your pumpkin, if you've got a chopstick at home, just put the chopstick underneath your pumpkin and then cut, so that because your chopstick will sit in the groove of your pumpkin, and that will give you a little leeway. So if you cut down, it'll only cut into your chopstick. It won't go all the way down for you. So that's just a little tip if you're using pumpkin.
That's a great tip.
So just, use a chopstick, and then that way you won't go all the way down.
And so, Nornie, I talked a bit about like all the different climate-related reasons why we should be eating more native plants, but do you have some more reasons why you think we should be eating more native plants?
Well, yeah, I mean, like they're natural to our country. They're natural to us. We get them from here. With our climate changes, that it will come from us in our country. And you should be growing what is natural to the soil here, because that soil and those vegetables or those spices and nuts, they belong here. They've been here forever and they've survived all this time. So why are we not using it more?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Like why yeah, it's a really great question. Why don't we use the plants that have been growing here for tens of thousands of years?
It's like and we are the ones that are pushing that. As a consumer, we're the ones wanting the demand on things. So we're the ones that should be asking for the natural stuffs that already is here. And we should be supporting our own as well, supporting our own country, because we should be able to stand on our own 2 feet, because all this stuff has existed for such a long time. Why are we not tapping into it? And on top of that, why are we not developing our flavors on our own Australian flavors? This is what Australia is good for. We are great. We're a country of beautiful food. And there's so much of it all around Australia. We should be using more of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's one of the things that I love about living in Australia, because we have so many different types of food here, and there's so wonderful parts of Australia that really own its own bits. So if you're in Maningrida, Kakadu plums, but they also do seasonal yams. They also do seasonal different types of berries, and then they have spices as well. Or you come down to Melbourne or Victoria and you have beautiful quandongs come in the seasons, and there's just so much that we can tap into, and really it's up to us to start to eat seasonally as well. We're the problem sometimes because we always want to have something when we want it, but why not have your palate change every time a season changes as well? Because then that way you're eating foods that is naturally grown all year round, and it'll be better for you.
Absolutely. I had a question come through from one of the participants tonight asking if the plants that you'll be cooking tonight, will they only be from Australia?
Yeah, pretty much actually everything I've got native currants here. I've got a macadamia honey that comes from Queensland, from the Queensland things. So, and I've got pepperberries, all from here. And yes, and saltbush all comes from here. and majority, everything grows from here.
Great. And if people don't have some of those ingredients in their on hand tonight, Nornie, have you got any alternatives that you could suggest for some of them?
Yeah, so like if you don't have pepper berries in there, in your things, now pepper berries, the best thing about pepper berries, right, it gives you a Szechuan sort of peppery taste to it, but it also gives you a clovey flavor. So you can use some of your cloves in your cupboards, as well as another spicy berry that you might, sort of pepper that you've got in your pantries. So you can use a little bit of both. But because pepper berries sit on that real clovey side, it almost gives you a really nice clovey flavor. So you can use clove as an alternative.
Oh, that's good to know. I look forward to seeing that.
And saltbush itself, I call it the indigenous oregano. So it has those saltinesses that you get from it, but also that herb finish too as well. So if you want an alternative for your saltbush, use oregano.
Okay, great one. Good tip. Thank you.
And your bush tomatoes, now I know I threw that in there for you, but I want us to start asking for bush tomatoes because it's a really amazing thing. And when the ladies used to, many moons and moons ago, what they used to do is let the bush tomato dry on the tree itself and sun dry it itself until it was sun dried, and then pick it to get the best flavor out of it. So it naturally is like sun baked basically, and then you can grind it down so it gives you a powder, and I call it the indigenous stock cube because it's got power packed flavors. It's almost like that favorite seasoning that you've always loved that you put on everything. Well, that's what reminds me of bush tomatoes. So if there's that favorite seasoning that you have at home, you can use that as an alternative. Okay.
And so whereabouts do bush tomatoes grow?
Bush tomatoes come from Queensland because it needs that hotter bits for it to grow. And it does come in small little shrubs as well. But it's funny because it's called bush tomatoes. So I've cut all my yams up. I've just put some paper down on a tray. So I'm going to give it a bit of a dash of oil on here so I can put my things on. So you put your things down onto your sheet.
That flat side down?
Yep, flat side down. Because what we're going to do now is we're just going to open it up a bit. Open them up a bit and get the oil to sort of seep in there. Just drizzle them on top, if you guys can see that. Just drizzling the oil on top, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get that. So get your hands dirty a bit. So if you've got already minced up garlic that's there, just rub that garlic on top as well, and we're going to just rub it in. Rub it into that. Get those flavors in there.
Delicious.
Yeah, get those bits in there. Use it all.
Someone's asked, Nornie, what your favorite type of yam is.
Well, I guess I'm a cassava girl. So we have different types of cassava, which we call maniotas. So I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of cassavas.
Do they grow on the Torres Strait?
They grow naturally there. It's the first ever thing I gardened as a kid.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's the first thing I ever dug up as a kid was cassavas, yams for us, for dinner. And give it a good pinch of salt, okay? So you got your sea salt in there. Just give it a good pinch of salt. And then pop it in the oven. Ready to rock.
I think there's something really satisfying about digging a vegetable out of the ground.
Yeah, look, I mean, when you're a kid, it's pretty cool that you get to dig up your own food.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get to see it come out of the ground and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because especially when for me, you see a giant yam that's like this big and you're this big.
Yeah.
When you pull it out of the ground, it's so special. And it's like, oh, wow, we're going to eat that and it's going to sustain us. And the best thing about when you have yams and you dig them up, you only take what you need, and you can cover the hole back up and it'll still grow more. So it's not one of these things where yams are like, you have to pull out the whole yam and then that's it, it's done. No, you just take what you need from it and it will sprout more. So it always will stay there for you and give you yield as you go. So that's what I love about yams too as well. You just dig up what you need, but the tree keeps producing yams.
Yeah, that's great.
So it sort of sustains you for a lot longer without you having to replant all the time to get something from it. So now that you've got yams in, so is everybody got their yams in the oven now? Because I went a step slowly so that we could all be together.
Yeah.
Everybody should have their yams in the oven. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep them in the oven as they are now. So we've got them covered. But when we go to put some of those, when we're going to put the honey over the top, we're going to cover it a little bit too as well so that it doesn't burn and get too sticky. But it just gives you that little steam bake too as well to make it a little bit more crispy. Because this part, we're going to crisp it up, but then we're going to give that little steam bake too as well.
So how hot is the oven now?
Your oven should be on 180.
Great.
Yep, your oven should be all on 180. Now, some ovens sometimes can be a little bit less. So if you want, you can go to 200. Put it on 200 because it won't change it. It'll still give you enough time, and we can take it out. But sometimes an oven might be a little bit, because ovens can be temperamental in different parts of the oven. So if you're sitting on 180 and you're just not quite hot enough, pump it up to 200.
Awesome. Okay.
So now we're going to move on to our DUKKAH. So my favorite thing is macadamians, because I just think that we should reclaim macadamians. It was basically, it's almost like macadamians have been stolen from us. Because if you look up macadamia on the internet, it says it naturally grows in Hawaii, and it's not theirs, it's ours. Macadamia is an Australian nut, and we should be claiming that back as ours, because we almost lost it. It almost got wiped out in Australia and then you could only buy it in. So please go out, eat some more macadamias, because it really is a beautiful nut. And it gives you so much, from macadamia oil to the beautifulness of the oiliness that it comes out, and just the more you roast it, the more flavor comes out of it too as well.
Yeah, roasted, so delicious. I think it's my favorite of all the nuts.
Oh, it is too.
It's buttery.
Well, it's mine as well, because not only can you use it as is or roasted, but you can put it in your stocks and your soups too as well, to give you that sort of candle nut feel to it too as well. And it just gives you an extra oiliness. And just when you even make macadamia oil and stuff, it's just so nice and fatty and natural fats as well that comes from it. So it's really, really kind of fun. I think it's a nut that can be used both ways, from savory to sweet.
And I think for people who are, exploring more plant-based options, I think that nuts are a really great thing to have more of in your diet. So
yeah, of course. You really do need to balance yourself out. If you're having a plant-based diet, you need to eat more nuts, because your whole body needs to be crunchy. Your teeth still need to be used. If you're not giving it those crunchy elements as well, your teeth could get a bit soft. So you want to be able to be using all those elements too as well. So you want to make sure that you balance your diet out really well. And nuts give you those natural oiliness that you need. And it also is really good because one thing I really love about macadamias is making macadamia butter, because it really does make a really nice creamy butter too as well.
Delicious. How do you do that? Is that an easy thing to explain quickly? How do you make it?
Macadamia butter is really simple. You just have to make sure that you soak your macadamias. You want to soak them and then boil them a little bit, but then you blitz them down as much as you want, but also make sure that you put the flavors that you want into them as well before you're doing it. But it's the key thing about making your own macadamia butter is make sure that you really do, they need to be soaked overnight before you start using them. If you don't soak them, then you won't get the nice smooth texture that you get out of butter. But it's a good natural oiliness that you can make just as is. And always remember, salt it, because the macadamias is creamy, but you want to add a little bit of saltiness to it as well.
Oh, that's a great tip. Thank you.
Okay, so macadamias go into your mortar and pestle. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can just blitz it up if you want to, or you can crush it. And then I've got my pepper berries here too as well. So I'm going to put some pepper berries in there. Now, pepper berries, my favorite, is in my top 5 of native ingredients. It basically sits in the number 2 because it sits under the bush tomatoes. So pepper berries is super cool because I love that cloviness to it, but I love the spiciness to it. But it also gives you those savory and sweet sort of element to it too as well. But it also has a natural purple tinge to it too as well. So when you use it and you add liquids to it, it actually gives you that purple tinge too as well. So if you're using it to like pickle, I really love pickling, using pepper berries to pickle, and you can also use them whole in things. And the best thing about pepper berries is you can use the whole plant, which means you can use the leaves as well. So you can use them as an alternative to bay leaves. And also the leaves are actually spicier than the pepper itself too as well.
Really? There you go.
But if you're growing pepper berries at home, don't grow it in hotter parts. It doesn't like that. It likes that colder climate. It's natural to Tasmania. So it needs that chill environment to grow. And also it needs a friend. They're not really good at growing alone. They need to have a buddy. So remember, if you're going, and there are male and female pepper berries, so you want to get one of each. And it's not because they love each other; it's more that they're in competition, I think, and look at each other all the time.
I actually have pepperberry growing in my backyard in a cold sort of corner, but I don't know, not in a pot, but I haven't used it yet. Isn't that a shame? After tonight, I definitely will.
Oh, you should. If you get if the berries are coming off it, just dry the berries out so that they'll give you the peppercorns.
Okay.
You know, dry the berries out, and you'll really get some really beautiful flavors out of them. It's one of my favorite things to use because it's just so delicious. So I've put my saltbush in here. I've put my pepper berries in here, and my macadamia has gone in here. And then I'm going to put my bush tomato too as well in a minute. So bush tomatoes are really super cool. I've got one here. It's very tiny, sorry, but you can see it there. But if you do have some, I know someone in the webinar came to visit us and got some.
Yeah, there's actually a thank you and shout out to you, Nornie, from India. She said, I'd like to thank Nornie for her generous spirit in providing me with some bush tomato, which I did go to pick up, and she's sending her gratitude to you.
So if you did get your hands on some, they're so delicious. Have a little taste of it because it does have this beautiful flavor on its own, and it will blow your mind. And it's one of those things that I really love, that it actually adds that extra seasoning to it. So in other words, you're not adding any artificial seasoning. You're just getting all that seasoning out of from the bush tomato itself. And that's what I love about it. It brings its own, it's almost like a familiar taste. And you know, when you were younger, I bet your nan and your gran were making stuff out of what was in their backyards. So some of these flavors is just you reconnecting from your childhood as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question that's come through asking, do you think there's a reason why native herbs and spices are harder to find and not widely stocked in major supermarkets?
I think it's because of us as consumers. So I'm just going to put a pinch of salt in here to my DUKKAH as well. Give it that extra flavor in there. I think it's us, the consumer. We don't ask enough for it. And this is what I tell all of my customers, and thing is, it's your choice. Go out there and ask your local grocers to stock it, because you only have to ask, because it is when they go to market, it is at market. It's just that we don't ask for it. So the more that we ask for it, the more it'll be on your shelves.
That's great.
All right. So this is like can you guys see that in there?
Oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah. So
I imagine it smells really, really good.
Oh my God, it smells so amazing. It's so good. It's like, we'll just have a little taste. I think we'll have a little taste. Have a little taste. Have a little taste. Oh my God. Yeah, it is delicious. So good. Oh.
Oh, I wish that maybe we didn't organize an online cook along and I was there in person, so I got to taste it with you.
So you can, yeah, like I can really taste like that spiciness that's coming from the pepper berries from in there, but I also can taste the nice creaminess that comes off the macadamia and that saltiness that we just added from the saltbush and the herbiness, but also that nice sea salt that I've just added to. So just put that aside.
Someone was asking about the recipe, and the recipe is going to be sent to you today. But yeah, Nornie, if you could just tell us again about the measurements and how much to put in things, just to keep people along with what you're doing, that would be great.
Yeah. So different spices. So I had a half a cup of macadamias in there, and then we had a teaspoon of saltbush and a half a teaspoon of pepperberry grounded, and then I just put a pinch of salt in there. In the DUKKAH, so that you can have it going. So that's with that. And with your yams, we did just salt, and the garlic was just two garlic cloves minced in there to rub on top of your yams. And I think I put in the recipe to get 3 yams, 3 medium yams.
Yeah. And someone's asked about the pepperberry. Can fresh pepperberry leaves be used in place of dry leaves? And if so, do you use the same amount of fresh leaves as dried leaves according to the recipe?
No, you don't want to use the same for fresh, because for fresh, they're really spicy. When they dry out, they're more bay leafy. So they will give the flavors of things, but when they're fresh, they're really spicy. So be careful when you use it. It's because they're fresh as well, that you will break it down and it'll be like a bit more spicy in there. So you want to use less. Always start with a little less, because with native ingredients, less is more. And that's a big tip that I can give you with there, because native flavors are so strong. So you don't have to use a lot when you're using it. So always remember, just less is more. And then add on to it if you feel like you need a bit more of a kick.
Okay. And someone else has asked what they can use instead of bush tomato, Nornie.
Oh, bush tomato is like I said, it's like a favorite seasoning that you could use. Yeah. So what you could do as an alternative is any type of seasoning that you think that you might have in your cupboard that you really fancy and you really like, use that. But this is also an opportunity for you to, as well, to use things like paprika or involve like those other things that you might have in your pantry that you haven't used for a while, too, as well. Making your own seasoning is sometimes really cool, too, as well. So I'll just put that aside there, ready to rock. Now, what we're going to do is make our... we didn't put a timer on, sorry. I'm just thinking that.
I think they've been in for about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. So if you wanna, so has everybody made their DUKKAH? Have they got their DUKKAH done?
I reckon we've had enough DUKKAH time. I think so. Yeah. Hope so.
So we're just gonna put like our ingredients list together for our malt now. So we're going to be putting a bit of malt vinegar and honey into our pot. So you just need a little pot for you. And we're going to go about half a cup of honey.
And for those who want it to be purely plant-based,
yes,
what can we use instead of honey?
Yeah, so if you don't want to use the honey, you don't have to. But what we're going to do is just, we're going to make it without the honey too. Or you can use molasses if you want to. Yeah.
Molasses. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah. What about maple syrup? Is that too runny, or could people use
maple syrup? Is too runny, and it actually is too sweet.
Oh, okay.
So you want to go that sugar caney sort of sweetness.
Right.
So that's why if you use the maple syrup, it's just it doesn't candy enough.
Right.
So I would go like a golden syrup or something like that instead.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't want to use honey.
Yeah.
And I love golden syrup. I grew up on it. So golden syrup is like the little bit of secret, I think, in our households. It gets used in everything. So I'm only putting about 60 mils of things. So 60 mils is like a shot of vodka. It's just a shot. If you have a shot of one of your favorite liquors at home, that's all it is. So those are in there. I've got the honey in there, and then I've got my coriander seeds as well in here. So I've got my coriander seeds, and I've got a bit more of that saltbush in there too as well. So it's just going to go into my pot.
So they're whole coriander seeds, not
they're whole coriander seeds that are in there. They go into my pot. So I've just got all my ingredients in here, and we're just going to put it on the stovetop. But we might just wait on that because we might not put that on right now because we want to wait for our sweet potatoes to do its thing.
And so just to clarify, someone's asked how much honey. Is it, was it half a cup?
Half a cup, yes.
Yeah.
Half a cup of honey that we put in there. Because we're just going to use that as a little bit of a glaze to go on our yams as well.
And it's the same if you're using molasses or if you're using...
Yeah, same if you're using molasses as well. It'll still be the same if you're using molasses. It's just going to be a little... I mean, I should have used molasses, to be honest. I apologize. I used honey this time around.
Oh, that's okay. Lots of options. That's fine.
Yeah, lots of options.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't have native currants at home, you can use the pomegranates. And pomegranates are in season right now too as well, which is super cool. So you can see here, I'm going to open this pomegranate for us to have a look inside. So these are the pomegranates. So you've got the pomegranates in here, and these are our native currants.
Oh, beautiful.
So they almost are very similar in things, but with the native currants, they give you a bit more of a savory feel. So like I always say this to people, not all native ingredients taste sweet if you're going to have a fruit, because they come from all parts of Australia, and native currants are a little bit more on the savory side when you eat them. But they do give it their own natural color too as well. Yeah. They're similar to almost like the pomegranate, where you can have, where it can be a little bit more tart than sweet.
Yes.
When you have them. So that's a good alternative to do it. And the reason why I do that, because we're going to get a lot of sweetness out of our sauce. We're going to have a lot of sweetness from our yams. So we want to have a little bit of savory there to cut that up too as well. We're going to have the nice oiliness that comes off the macadamias. So it gives it that little bit of a fresh flavor to it as well. So that's our native currants and our pomegranates, if you're using pomegranates.
Beautiful.
So we're just going to be waiting on our yams now.
We had another question that was some kind of yam related. Well, it is yam related. Nornie, have you ever cooked with New Zealand yams, okka? They're not.
I love okka yams.
Yeah.
Every time they come in season, you know, I get as many as I can. And the season is so short and they're so delicious. They're one of those yams that are so pretty to look at. They're just delicious to actually use. I'm a big fan of them. I do put them on the menu when they come out because they're just so delicious. And the season is so short that you can only get them for a month. And you can eat them also raw as well as cooked.
Oh, really?
And when they cook, they're just like, they look like, they're just so like spongy and delicious. They're actually, yeah, they're definitely in my top 10 of yams for sure.
This person, sorry, I don't know their name, but they've asked what sort of dishes you make with them because they're growing them in the garden.
Sorry?
This person's growing them in their garden, and so they're curious.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I use them similar to if I was using sunflower roots, or what we call them is Jerusalem artichokes.
Oh, yeah.
So you sort of, the Jerusalem artichokes or sunflower roots, they're almost similar to ochre yams to me. And they have that beautiful softness and that natural nuttiness that comes from them. So you can use them in the same way. But I love to just roast them off with like just simple ingredients. But then I like to make that macadamia or like, you know, a different type of butter to go underneath them. So it's almost like you're having this creaminess with the nuttiness, as well as those yams too as well. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yum.
I definitely always make it with a nice paste to go underneath. So one of my favorite yams. I'm so glad we talked about those yams, because they're definitely, I always wait every year because they come out in November. And every year I'm like, are they in yet? Yeah, I keep asking my suppliers, are they in yet? Because I want to make sure that we get some just for that short period that they're around.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, to keep asking for more native ingredients. That's great.
Oh, I ask all the time.
Yeah.
I get ingredients from all over Australia, but I also get them from local farmers as well. And majority of my ingredients come directly from farmers. And because I want them to have 100% of the money. So it's about building relationships with who you have. And I go down to my local, you know, Turkish grocer here in Melbourne. It's on Smith Street. And I go in there and I say, hey, mate, can I get some saltbush? He's like, yeah, no problem. He'll just go down, he goes to market, comes back with like bunches of saltbush for me. And I say, hey, mate, can I get some warrigal greens? He comes back with like boxes of warrigal greens for me. So it's just who you ask. Yeah. If you ask for it, they can get it, because it's at market. We just don't ask for it enough. Yeah.
We actually ran another event recently about taking climate action through your food choices and through the foods that you choose. And some advice that we got from an academic who is a nutritionist, she said, know the faces of the people that you're getting your food from, whether it's from farmers markets or your local grocer. But it's really important for all of us to have more of a connection with our food and where it comes from. So that's
I think that's a beautiful message to say, because I do the same with, like, you know, our farmers. So our farmers directly communicate with us, and if they say to us, hey, look, we've got a mite at the moment, or hey, the floods really hit us really hard because they're wild harvesters, we can't have that. So then it's my job to then tweak my menu to make sure that I can help them grow their crops again when it's ready to come back again. It's not for me to actually still demand it and try and hunt for it because I want it on the menu. It's up to us to actually work with the farmers so that they can have a good longevity as well of what they're doing, and you follow their route. If we're a country that have floods, that has so many different things that happen here, that we cannot get some things sometimes, and it's up to us to say, hey, you know what, let's give it a break. There's so many other things we can eat.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and I think those climate related impacts and extreme weather events, you know, they're going to happen more and more. And I think the more that we have these conversations about the ways that it's impacting our food security and our food systems, I think that's really important. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, a few months ago, one of my chefs came to me and said, we can't get any more chips because there's no potatoes because of the floods. And it's like, okay, let's just use yams. Like, we already do yams. Do we have to have potatoes? We don't have to have potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's up to us. It's up to us to not have to worry about that. Like, you know, we should be the ones that are dictating how we eat. And we should be following those beautiful seasons, because we will literally have a better palate. And for me, growing up, I got to experience that. really eating things that come in those right seasons and enjoying it all year round. You know, I look forward to Christmas in Australia because that's mango season. I don't want to eat a mango in July or June, you know. That's not when mango season is. I can picture myself sitting in the backyard when it's nice and hot, you know, and I have a mango. And it's just enjoying it for the moment and understanding that next year you're going to enjoy it again.
Yeah, I think we're so used to just getting whatever we want from the supermarket and probably not that fresh or probably not that nutritious because it's not in season. So yeah, I think.
Well, and you know, tomatoes are the biggest thing that people talk about, you know. Like, I think maybe this year is the first time tomatoes have ever really been good, you know. For years, you keep getting the same tomatoes and everybody just accepts that's what the taste of tomatoes is. But if you go around the world and have tomatoes in their countries, they eat it when it's at its best.
Yeah.
And we should be doing the same. We don't need to have a tomato in our sandwich every single day.
Yeah, that's right. Nornie, we were hoping you could just review some of the steps because some people are a little bit lost. So.
Okay, no worries. So we cut up our yams. So our yams are in here. I'm going to pull mine out so you guys can have a look. Oh, I can smell all that beautiful garlic in there. Ooh. Oh, it looks good. It looks good. Can you guys see that?
Yum.
Oh, it's looking good. It is looking good. So we sliced up our yams, so nicely and thin. We rubbed our garlic all over it. We salted it up as well. Gave it a good dash of olive oil on there. Put it into the oven. So that's cooking away. We're going to sit it there for about 40 minutes, you know, depending on, you know, how you go. But then 10 minutes before we take it out, we're going to turn on our pot over here that we've got all our ingredients in. So I've got in here half a cup of honey. And then, oh, if you guys can have a look in my pot here, can you guys see that? Because I've let it sit, you can see all the purple that's coming off the pepper berries. So that pepper berry is really is giving it a natural purple glow in there. Can you guys see that? I hope you guys can see that.
The color's beautiful.
Yeah. So you've got those beautiful purpleness that's come off the pepper berries that I've kind of added into there. And you can smell the pepper berries too as well in that nice maltiness. So we've got 60 mils of malt vinegar in there. We've got our coriander seeds and our saltbush in there too as well. So coriander seeds, we've only got, I think I've got a teaspoon, is it? Or tablespoon? I think it's a tablespoon. I think it's a tablespoon of coriander seeds and then a teaspoon of saltbush to go into our pot because we're going to put that on in a minute. And then we started off with our DUKKAH as well. So half a cup of macadamia went in there. We put about half a teaspoon of pepper berries because we want to kind of crunch that down a bit. You've got your bush tomatoes in there too as well. There's a teaspoon of bush tomato, grounded. You want to just ground it up in there. I put a pinch of salt in there. And then I've got some black sesame seeds that I added just in at the end. And we put a teaspoon of saltbush in there too as well and put that aside. So then we've got our native currants, or you can use your pomegranates. So what we're going to do with those is we're going to top them off at the end to give it that nice freshness and that fresh finish.
And so in with the honey or the, is that, or the
malt vinegar?
Yeah.
So
are the pepper berries in there?
Yeah, there's just a half a teaspoon in there.
Half a teaspoon, great.
Yeah. So that's where I've got, you can see the ruby redness that's coming through there, which is really nice. So we're going to turn that on in a minute because we've, I think we've had about 20 minutes on our yams.
About 25, I think.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah,
so we've got only about 15 minutes left on our yams anyway. So we're going to turn, we should turn our pots on. So just turn your pots on so that we can heat up that vinegar and honey or your molasses if you're using molasses. You know, there's other things that you can use from molasses to treacle to rice syrup as well if you want to. So there's different other syrups that you can use.
Like rice malt syrup.
Yeah, well, rice malt syrup as well. So those, and corn syrup, you can use different types.
Okay.
There's a few syrups out there that you can use.
Are you cooking on an induction stove there, Nornie?
I am actually.
How do you find it?
Yeah, it's good. It's it works. I'm a gas girl, but I am a gas girl at work. But induction, I quite like it because it does it really quickly.
Yes, it's really efficient, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very efficient. Every chef's dream is gas, obviously, but you know, we can't use gas forever.
No, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's an important part of taking climate action is getting off gas. Absolutely.
It's exactly. And the induction cooking is getting better and better and better of how they build them. So, you know, you can't complain anymore. And sometimes induction cooking gives you the temperatures that you need to actually make different sauces too as well, which is quite nice to use. So you burn less.
Yeah.
So there are positives to it.
Yeah. I heard a hot tip that people can use like induction as their everyday cooking, but if there's some cultural foods or some foods where you really need to have that flame, then you could have just like a little portable gas stove and use that occasionally, you know, when you need a flame, but then use your induction for your everyday cooking.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of, you know, pit fire cooking.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Coal cooking, you know, hot rock cooking. I mean, I grew up with what we call cup murries. So they're a version of similar to hungies. So we never really had ovens. We just cooked everything outside. So we cooked everything underground, and you would burn off the rocks, and then you would put everything on the rocks, and you would layer the food in order of the heat that would come through the oven, because you would pack it and then you would close everything off with leaves, so that the leaves then put sand on top. The leaves protect the food, and then you put sand on top to build your oven. And each layer you put the different types of food on each layer, so that they have a heat ratio that even if you cook for 6 hours, your top ones will get enough heat that it needs and it won't burn.
Amazing.
So we got to learn how to cook in outdoors actually all the time.
Is that like a special occasion thing?
No, that's like an everyday thing.
Really? Wow.
It was an everyday thing for us growing up. We were always outside. As kids, like for snacks and stuff, for me, you don't go home for lunch. You just roast a fish down the beach, you know. Yeah. You have a snack. Because like kids that grow up in the Torres Strait, they eat so many different things. You eat all of the native plants, all the native plums, because we call them wangais or sorpis and arrows, which are like bell fruits and stuff. They're all just out in nature. So we just tend to feed ourselves outside and have snacks off the trees.
That sounds so lovely. Sounds idyllic. Someone's asked whether the pot should be boiling or simmering.
You want it to just be simmering.
Okay.
You want it to be simmering, and if it comes to a boil, then just take it off. Because you're wanting those flavors to mix together, but you don't want to burn the honey.
Oh. And someone else has asked, Nornie, whether you do cooking classes for groups or if you know.
I do cooking classes for groups. Okay. I do many different ones. Yeah, it's a part of our food program of kind of doing different sort of affordability. I do affordability ones too as well for clients that, you know, can't afford to things, and teaching them how to budget and what to make for them too as well for different community organizations. So yeah, I do a few different cooking classes.
Can people find out about that on your website?
Yeah, they can find that through our team. They'll let them know.
Right.
If you contact our team, you can definitely find out what I'm doing next, because we're always doing something, which is really super cool. I just came back from South by Southwest in Texas, in Austin, and we got to talk a lot about native ingredients over there, and how, you know, I got to sit on a panel with Patty Mills, King Stingray, and talk about these beautiful parts, these small little parts that we come from in Australia and talk about how beautiful and how natural it is and how people live there. So it was a really amazing experience to be a part of that.
That's
and talk how we should be eating more native ingredients because it's natural to our land, and I think native ingredients are definitely the way forward for us to change how we sustain ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because all these spices and stuff that naturally come from here, they already exist here for us. So we could be having more of that in our pantries instead of importing other spices.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had another.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, just someone else made a comment actually that they went to a spice shop and asked for bush tomato, and they said they used to sell them years ago, and that now they just can't get them. So they said maybe the demand has increased, but the supply hasn't caught up yet. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's because, like, before, back in the day, they used to have it and no one bought it, and then it just whittled away. So then the farmers were like, well, no one wants the product, so how are we supposed to grow it, and now it's becoming back into demand again. And bush tomatoes is the one rare ingredients in the especially in the native ingredients list that is starting to come back now, because more people like me need to be talking about it a bit more, because it is one of the coolest native spices out there. And because things are like, everybody hears about the lemon myrtle, you can get lemon myrtle everywhere. And it's all about us just talking about bush tomatoes, and then it will be able to be naturally there too as well. Can you imagine if we were using bush tomatoes as our natural seasoning, like from now on, and we wouldn't have to buy all these stock cubes and stuff? It would be so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it all comes from one little berry basically. And it's funny because it doesn't look like a tomato, but it looks like a baby eggplant when it starts off, and then it goes and it looks like it's also known as a desert raisin as well, because they would let it dry on the bush.
Interesting.
Someone
has also asked about your best tip for getting to know how to use native herbs and spices, and which flavors go well together. Do you have any?
Now, this is a great question, because I had this question, I think it was like a couple of days ago too as well. And it's about all native ingredients don't mix together. Don't just go and throw them all together. They're not supposed to go all together. I see this mistake happen all the time. They're like, they put this in, and they put that in, and then they put that in, and I'm like, yuck. That's gonna taste yuck. And don't pretend when you're eating it and you're going, that's really nice, because it isn't. So no, not all native ingredients should go together. You are right. They're not supposed to go together. Things like pepperberry and saltbush, that's instant winner. That's our version of salt and pepper. How many people love salt and pepper calamari in this country? Everybody loves it. And why can't we just naturally be using our saltbush and our pepperberries on it instead? And so those are those good alternatives that you can use. Things like wattle seeds. I think my top 5 are bush tomatoes, pepperberries, wattle seeds. I even have tattoos of wattle seeds, pepperberries, and things on me because I've got a sweet and savory side,
I love it.
I put the pepperberries on the sweet side though, because I want to pretend they're like spicy sweet. So my top 5 are definitely bush tomatoes, pepperberries, wattle seeds, peppermint gum. I really love it. It's like one of those cool things. Saltbush. I think aniseed myrtle is like one of those things that is underrated. Like, we don't talk about it enough. It's so delicious because it still lives in the myrtle family, but it actually has this kind of myrtle flavor to it, but that slight aniseed. And I know not everybody's a licorice fan, but imagine putting aniseed myrtle, wattle seed, and chocolate together. Boom, delicious. So, those things are like good combinations that you can that work really well together. So if you want to add something to your hot chocolate the next time, add a little bit of aniseed myrtle and then that wattle seed will give you an extra maltiness too as well. Wattle seeds are so cool because there's so many different species in Australia. Like I think there's over 600 different species, and 165 of them are like really good to be used as edibles. And the lighter you get it, the more malty it is. It's almost like you can actually grind down the lighter wattle seeds and have it like it's milk. So like powdered milk. So it gets more malty, and wattle seeds were used as this like natural thickener as well. So you would grind it down, add it to your flour base, to your wheat base, and then when you add the water, that wattle seed will suck up the water, but it also give you this sourdough flavor too, a nutty flavor to it. So it has those kind of coffee tannins to it. So it gives you a lot more. And if you're somebody like me that is caffeine free, because I'm allergic to caffeine, wattle seed is just like a great alternative to drink as a latte.
Oh, really? So how do you have that? You have just powdered wattle seed with...
Yeah, you can grind down that wattle seed so that it's like really into a powder, and then make yourself like, you know, a latte. It's absolutely delicious. Or like wattle seed is really cool because it's savory and sweet. So it gives you those, it goes really well with chocolates, but it also you can make it those nice seasonings out of it too as well, because it's got that nutty, almost caffeine flavor to it. But it also has those bitter chocolate bits to it as well that might be good in those crumbs and stuff that you might be crumbing, you know, some eggplant for your next, like, you know, parmigiana, which is really
interesting. Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Oh, my induction is having not a nice day today. Just when I said it was great, it's not helping me out. Come on, you can do it.
So Nornie, your restaurant, Big SO at Fed Square, I know it's not plant-based, but it does have a lot of plant-based options. Have you noticed that a lot more of your customers are requesting plant-based meals?
Well, yeah, I mean, like we have a very big vegan following because I'm really a big believer that all vegetables are delicious, and you can make any vegetables delicious without chucking cheese on it. So every single thing that we make that is, especially at Big SO, everything that we make there and we put out, even majority, probably like 95% of our events menu as well for the vegetarian options are all vegan made. So we make things like, we make creams out of the macadamias, or we even make them out of celeriac, or we make different types of creams to go with all the beautiful vegetables that we have. And it's really good to kind of really showcase vegetables in a different light, because they have so many textures and they have these beautiful flavors on their own. Why do we need to just throw a bit of cheese on it and then mask the flavor? So we really want people to taste the vegetables themselves.
Yeah, I think that making vegetables the hero is a really, I think people are doing it more and more.
Yeah, like we make a really big mention of like how we develop the menu, you know, because we're like, we don't want to be those token places where like somebody that's vegan or vegetarian go in and there's only one option for them to eat, you know, and it's not like that. We should all be eating more vegetables anyway. So we make vegetables cool. And that's what I really want to do, is make vegetables really cool for people to eat.
Yeah, amazing. I think you do a very good job of that. Absolutely. What are some of your favorite plant-based things to eat?
I'm a squash girl, not a pumpkin, like yellow squash. I'm a big yellow squash girl. It's in season right now, guys. They're delicious too as well. Please go out, eat more. Yum, yum. I do like sunflower roots. I love Jerusalem artichokes. I love yams. I don't know. I think there's so many things that interest me, because like we make a lot of coconut-based things as well, because Torres Strait, you know, coconuts are like lifebloods. We eat them in all their different lives of a coconut too as well. And I love showcasing that of from a young jelly, like, you know, when you eat it, to when it's starting to sprout and has like this beautiful, what we call a musu inside, which looks like a cloud. When you crack it open, it's spongy. It's really kind of cool. So I don't know, there's so many different vegetables I love out there.
That's great. And you mentioned earlier about eating more seasonally.
Yeah, definitely. You have to eat more seasonally, because if you don't eat more seasonally, you won't get the best. And this is what the problem with vegetables are with sometimes with people, is they don't eat it in season. So, you know, right now squashes are in. Go out and get yellow squash. You know, go out and get the vegetables that are in season, because they're going to be at their best, and you're going to love and enjoy them more. If you eat them out of season, then you're just making the wheel go around, and you're not going to enjoy it as much as when they're really at their prime.
Absolutely.
It's one of the biggest things that I like to tell people is eat them when they're ready now. If you eat them when they're out of season, then they're not going to be the best.
Okay.
And you get the better flavor out of it too. And you get a lot more. And plus, then you're enjoying it for the time that it's in there as well. You'll be like, yum, this is delicious. And then you'll remember the next year when that comes around again, you'll be like, oh, that's what I remembered. And we will consume less of everything else, because we're eating in the natural seasonings that we are. So we won't have to eat. When you eat something that you really like and you eat it in the seasons that it is, and I'm a sharer of food. I like to eat a little bit of everything, you know. So I love to go out there and see what's out there in the market right now, and just go out there and teach your eyes to see what's out there. We're so blinded sometimes about our choices, and we have these memories of when we were a child that, oh, you know, I ate asparagus, but that's because your mum probably boiled the whole lot of it and it was soggy. Yeah. Just go out and try it again. And eat it the way that it should be, and eat it when it's in season as well, when it's not woody. And, you know, if you have it as when it's the right and it's really fresh, it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it hasn't been flown from the other side of the world.
Sorry?
And when it hasn't been flown from the other side of the world.
Exactly. And that's like the whole thing about food by mileage, you know. I mean, I buy from all over Australia, but I don't, you know, I think of that same plant-based, but I also think about the organic quality of food. But then I support the farmers that might be next to a farmer that might be spraying chemicals on theirs and might have a blowback on his farm, but he's doing all the right things. I want to support him, you know. So you can't make that choice. And organic products come from all over the world. Why are we just not eating the natural products that are here? That are coming out of our soil. So it's up to us. I think we're the problem half the time. Yeah,
no doubt.
So I'm just going to check my yams in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the
Not
yams.
that time, it's yam time.
Yeah, it's yam time. We've been yamming away, so let's check the yams. Just put that on there so my boy doesn't. Oh my God, it smells so good. I bet like, give us a little hand up if your yams are smelling. Oh my God, they look so good. Can you see those? Yum, they smell delicious too as well. I'm not gonna lie. They smell so good.
They look crispy and delicious.
Oh, they're so good. And you can feel them, they're nice and soft. They should be nice and soft now too as well. And they've got those beautiful nice crispiness. So just with your sauce, you wanna just layer that on top, get it into those little grooves there. You can hear it. Can you hear that sizzle? You should hear it sizzle a bit too as well. Yum. You got all that natural. Get it all in there. That's savory and sweet. Beautiful. And then we're gonna just pop it straight back into the oven, okay? And we're going to give it an extra, I think it's 10 minutes. And you can really smell that sort of maltiness come through as well. Because I'm a pickling girl. I grew up pickling. So my dad used to send me to confirmation classes. And I used to there was a tamarind tree and a mango tree near the church. And I would just have all my bottles lined up. And I would pickle the tamarinds and the mangoes, and then I would sell it to the kids that were there going to confirmation class. So maybe that's why I started off as a condiment business.
Yeah.
So I've been pickling since I was really young, and I would go walking out on the reef early in the morning with my spear that my dad made for me, and I'd get fresh octopus, and then I'll get the octopus, I'll come back, I would poach it, and then I would cut it and I'd put it in a jar and pickle it with my spices, and then I would leave it there and I'd eat it the next day. So I've been pickling for a long time, and I think it's just naturally that you should just be exploring a lot more things too as well.
You started your food business very, very young.
Yeah, I was
Enterprise.
I don't think I was in double figures yet when I was doing that. I was just very interested in pickling my own things.
Yes, so good. I had a question about whether all the sauce should go on top of the yams.
Yeah, use it all. Use it all.
Okay.
Yeah, put it all on there.
Great.
Lather it all in, like, you know, get as much as you can in there. You want to get all those nice crispy bits in there and stuff. Because now the best thing about this next 10 minutes, it's like you're going to smell those beautiful, like it's going to start to sort of candy up a bit, and you'll have those multi flavors of it. And then we're just going to be plating it up and just putting all the extra beautifulness of the crunchiness and going with your other stuff on top too as well. Because that bottom part of your yams is going to be nice and crispy as well. So you're going to have these like crispy moments and soft moments, and then crunches from your dukkah, and then the tartness and freshness from your pomegranates and as well.
It sounds like a real showstopper of a dish, but it also doesn't seem too difficult.
No, I think it's the assembly of it is beautiful, and your eyes will eat it first, but it is a very simple dish to make. And that's the best thing about when you're using plant-based, like making plant-based stuff, you have such great ingredients out there that it shouldn't take you long to put a really delicious dish together. And majority of this stuff, I was just saying this to someone just the other day, but when you buy your spices in your cupboard, it's only about, it's not you buy it once off, and then it's just a top up. So you're not buying it every single time. So when you make these dishes, you're going to have these ingredients at home. So it's not always when you make a dish, you have to buy every ingredient to it. The more that you top up your pantries and have all these beautiful ingredients in your cupboards, the more it'll be there for many dishes that you're going to make as they come. So it's not always about, oh, I can't like keep buying it all the ingredients for the one dish. You're going to have these ingredients now for 50 to 100 more dishes to come.
Yeah, amazing. Actually, I was feeling inspired before when you were talking about the salt and pepper, the saltbush and the pepperberry. I was thinking I could make like salt and pepper tofu, you know, like when you get
exactly. This is what people don't realize. Like those beautiful flavors there, those are natural to us. And it's our responsibility too, as well, is to teach the next generation that are coming out that this is not a foreign spice for us. This is natural to us, that when they grow up and they have their own pantries, that will just be a normal part of their pantry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they won't know any different, that and that ingredients will come from this beautiful soil that we've got.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. There's a question about yellow squash. Someone's asked what dishes you make with yellow squash that you mentioned earlier.
Oh my God, you guys have to, when you have a yellow squash, definitely blanch them. It's only a little blanch, but then when you put them in your pan, cut them in half, put them in your pan, and make sure you get a nice char on them. Because you want them to caramelize and really give it a thing. And then get yourself a celeriac and make yourself a celeriac puree to go with it. Oh my God, you will love it. You'll love it.
Yum.
And this dukkah that you just made, put some of that on top, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I feel like that dukkah will go with so many different things. You could
exactly
have it
this dukkah is universal for any vegetable that you think that you're going to have. And you don't use all this dukkah as well on your yams if you don't want to. Save some of it. Use it next time.
Could even dip some fresh bread in olive oil and then put it in the dukkah and eat it.
I mean, yes, definitely. I think these are all great things. I'm with you 100%. Yeah, there's so many great things that you can use here. But like I said, once you have these in your pantry, you can start exploring. And people always say to me, how do I use native ingredients? And it's like, well, once upon a time, you experimented when you made basil, like when you use basil, or when you use coriander seeds for the first time, or when you use cloves for the first time. And that's what native ingredients is as well. It's just you trying another ingredients out there and introducing that into your pantry.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a couple of great comments from people about things that grow well together, often cook well together. Have you found that?
Yeah. Can we give you some examples that they've given?
Oh, they haven't given any examples, but if that person wants to...
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Oh, things that grow well together, often cook well together.
Oh, they do. That's a true thing. That's a true thing. I believe that too as well. I think that's why pepper berries are like one of those things where they have to grow with a friend, you know, they don't like to be by themselves. So it's really good that you can kind of utilize that. I do think that most ingredients that grow together always are like really lovely. But the one ingredient that especially grows like wildfire is warrigal greens, and we should be eating more of that. And people have this perception that warrigal greens, you have to blanch them before you use them because of like, you know, no, not everything that you read on the internet is true. So natural things like warrigal greens to use, you can use them fresh, you can make sauces out of them, you can also blanch them, you can tempura them, you know, you can crisp them up. There's so many ways of using our natural spinach that grows like wildfire.
So are there other sort of more Western ingredients that you would recommend like swapping out for some native ingredients? Have you got any?
Oh yeah, that's why I mentioned the warrigal greens, because warrigal greens are so really delicious. So you can just take most of your pak choys, your spinaches, you know, all of those English spinaches, or even silver beets that are out there. You can take all that out and have an alternative of warrigal greens in it. And that's the same thing with your sea succulents too as well. I use a lot of things like cacala, which are like pig face, you know, and we know pig face as the cactus version that looks a bit like cactus and it grows everywhere. But if you use the one that's called the beach banana, that one you can use as alternatives in your stocks, or as in you're making like a soup or your stews, as well as stir fries. So there are different things that you can eat out there.
Yeah, great. We're getting pretty close to 8 o'clock. How are the yams?
All right, let's have a look.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these.
Oh,
Everyone checking on their yams.
Ooh, I can smell it. It smells good, and it's really bubbling up there. I can smell that coriander coming out. Ooh, that looks so good. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to grab a plate here.
Well, is everyone ready to plate up?
Is everyone ready to plate up? Are the hands up? Hands up, you're ready to plate up? Oh, look at this. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yum.
See that, how it opens up? It's almost like, looks like a bit of like it's like a caterpillar. So you get, you can see that falling away. Oh, yes, perfect. Opening up. It's got that nice crispiness too as well. Wow. And that purple has really seeped through too as well. You can see that. Really nicely seeped through. Oh, yes. This is very sexy. It's very, very good. Very, very sexy. I can tell you now. And what I'm going to do is I've got this like nice sauce that I've made here. I'm just going to pour it all over it because I want to keep that as well. Put this over here. So can you guys see all this?
Wow.
Now that looks like like you don't need to go to a restaurant, you can make it at home.
That is an impressive pile of yams.
You can see all the beautiful colors that have come off it, and it's really nice. And when you can just peel this piece off and then just put it into your mouth. So I'm going to add my native currants to it. Finish it off. Give it that tartness, or you can use your pomegranates, remember, for your freshness. So I'll just put a little bit of my pomegranates in there as well, because I have the native currants. And then our dukkah that we made, grab a good pinch of it and finish it off. Everybody's like, yes, mine looks exactly like that.
So we're just clarifying that the yams cook for about 40 minutes and then put the glaze onto the stove for about 15 minutes. Then you cook the yams out. And then you put them, put the glaze on and then put them back into the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, just for that last little bit.
Beautiful. That looks amazing. If anybody is keen to show us, if I imagine people are plating up at home now, if you'd like to show us, we can spotlight you. So put your little yellow hand up, and we can check out your yam dish. Who are the braggers? I want to see the braggers in the audience.
Yeah, come on. Who's got the dish of the day? Who's got the dish of the day? And so you guys can all see this. So you've got this. Oh, look, it smells amazing. It smells so good.
So good.
And I can tell you now, everybody's gonna love that. Everyone's gonna love it.
Tim, you're on mute. Do you want to take yourself off mute and have a...
What are you trying to do?
How you doing?
You're showing it.
Any preference? Yeah, we're out here.
Yeah, no, see wherever you like.
Oh my God, a nice shot of your face. Do you want to show it?
I'm trying to make this work.
Maybe flip your screen.
There we are. How's that? Is that any better?
Where is? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, look at it. There it is. There it is. It's on the side of the,
That crumb.
Yeah, beautiful.
Looks delicious. Well done.
So you can definitely smell all everything that's coming off it right now, because all those beautifulness is coming through from those, like the heat that's hit that dukkah too as well. You can now really smell the dukkah coming through.
Incredible. Have we got one more person? I can't see the names, but it's of who someone's got their hand up, but I can't see who. Karina. Hey, do you want to take yourselves off mute, Karina? Oh, wow.
Hi.
Oh my God, yum. That looks fantastic.
For the team effort.
Oh, that's so good.
Good.
That looks delicious.
That looks incredible.
We can't wait to eat it.
Who needs to go to a fancy restaurant? We'll just come to your house, Karina.
Yeah. Mainly it's Ella.
We'll come to Ella's house then.
She's my house. She's the chef.
Good.
Awesome. That looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That's great.
Looks like there's some really beautiful yam dishes out there.
Amazing. Those colors, so gorgeous. They look incredible. What I would love, actually, if people could take photos of their dish so that we can see everyone's. If you don't, it's hard to get through it like just in this chat. But if you take a photo of your yams, and then if you tag City of Yarra and also tag Mabu Mabu Oz, which is Mabu _ AUS, and put it on Instagram with those two tags, City of Yarra and Mabu Mabu Oz, then we can share it on social media. So that would be amazing.
Yes, we would love to see it. I'd love to see it. You never know. I might have a chef out there that might want to come join my team.
Yeah. And Nadia and Yuki are ready to share as well. Did you want to show us?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is great.
Excited.
So fun.
Hi. Hey, Nornie.
Hi.
Thanks for the, hang on, how do I do this?
Bush tomatoes.
That's right. There it is.
Oh my God, look at that. That looks awesome.
Yeah. Got the colour thing. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for the bush tomato too. You're a legend. Big
No
eso.
worries. Big SO for you, mate. That
Yeah.
looks so good.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm hosting a luncheon for the ASRC Feast for Freedom. I think I'm gonna add it to the menu.
Yeah. Yes.
Woohoo.
Yes.
Some good Aussie native food.
Awesome. I'll see you at Big SO.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.
That is so fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for sharing. And I have to say, we'll have to wind up now. So I'll say a huge thank you to you, Nornie. That was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
So
Please remember, go out there, eat more natives. It's natural to us and it helps us, you know, with climate change, and also it's just delicious.
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I think there was one more person. Yuki, did you want to share as well?
Yes.
I didn't see that.
So I did a
substitution. Yay! Ah, that looks delicious.
I'm gonna hold it.
Okay. So we
That
have the
looks
yellow
great.
yams, and I did order all of the bush tomatoes and things, but they didn't arrive in time. So I've used saltbush from my garden and some sun-dried tomatoes instead.
Oh, fantastic. The fresh saltbush would be delicious.
Yeah, it looks nice. My boys have been waiting for dinner, so we'll sit down and eat it in a minute.
Yay, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank you. That was so amazing.
Awesome. I love it that you've got some saltbush in the garden there.
Yeah. And the
Yay.
pomegranates are from the garden too.
Oh, yay, even better. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So awesome. Well done, Yuki. Thank you. Yeah, well, thanks so much, Nornie. We're so grateful. We shared so many great tips and so much knowledge about native ingredients. And I'm sure that everyone's walking away feeling really inspired to use.
Awesome. Please go out there.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
up to us. It's
Yeah.
up to us.
And thanks so much to everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you're all enjoying a really delicious dinner now. And thank you for taking an interest in hearing and learning more about incorporating more native plants into your diets and how to take climate action through the food we choose. If you're interested in learning more about how to take climate action through your food choices, check out the Yarra City Council Take Climate Action website. And we also have some other some websites there that can help you learn more about climate action and food and how these things are all connected, and actions that you can take. And Nornie's website, Mabu Mabu, is there. But we've emailed you these links as well as the recipe for tonight. And another, just a quick plug before you go is that we have some upcoming events at Yarra. If you're a renter and you live in Yarra, we have an event about draft proofing for renters coming up on the 18th of May. And we also have a special some special events coming up specifically for people of colour who live in Yarra. If you're interested, we're interested in hearing more about your thoughts and feelings around climate, and we're hosting some listening sessions at a few different locations, and we'd love you to come along to those. But we've emailed you registration information about those things. And we've also asked, one last ask, is for a 2-minute survey to give some feedback about tonight's event. It's really helpful for us shaping our events for you. So if you could, that's been sent to your inbox along with that information. So if you could send that through, yeah, if you could fill out that survey, we'd be really grateful. All right, well, that wraps us up for tonight. Thank you so much to everyone for coming. Thanks again, Nornie, you're amazing. Enjoy that delicious dinner, and we'll see you again. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.
Thanks.